Picture this. You're sitting at your desk on a Monday morning, trying to focus on your inbox when a company-wide email lands with a subject line that makes you do a double take. Creative team headshots, new direction. Now, in most offices, this would mean wearing your best blazer or choosing between a blue or gray background. But not at Horizon Digital Marketing, and definitely not with Marcus as the creative director. I'd been working at Horizon for just over 8 months, my first job after graduating with a marketing degree, and I was still getting used to the company's unconventional approach to, well, everything. Let me set the scene a bit better. Horizon occupies the top 2 floors of a renovated warehouse in the Arts District. Think exposed brick, too many plants, and motivational quotes painted directly onto the walls. Marcus, our creative director and de facto boss since the founders were usually traveling, was what people charitably called a visionary. Less charitably, he was the kind of guy who'd interrupt meetings to share epiphanies he had while doing hot yoga or microdosing. At 45, he dressed like he was still in his 20s and insisted everyone call him by his first name because titles create unnecessary barriers to creativity. I should mention that I was one of only 2 openly gay employees in our office of about 30 people. The other was Denise from accounting, who had photos of her wife and twins prominently displayed on her desk. Everyone was perfectly accepting, but it still made me hyper-aware of how I presented myself professionally. I wasn't closeted, but I was careful. This was my first real job, and I wanted to be taken seriously. So back to that email. Marcus announced that as part of our agency's rebranding, we would all be getting new headshots for the website and marketing materials. But these wouldn't be just any headshots. No, Marcus wanted something that captured our authentic selves and broke down the artificial barriers between personal and professional identities. The photo shoot was scheduled for Friday, and we were instructed to come prepared to express your true essence. Now, in any normal office, this would raise eyebrows. At Horizon, it barely registered on the weird scale. Layla from the design team read the email aloud at our communal lunch table, and everyone just nodded along. Remember when he made us all write poetry about our spirit animals during the last retreat? Ryan from SEO chuckled. At least photographs are objective evidence we can show at our next job interviews. I laughed along, but I was secretly a bit nervous. What exactly did authentic selves mean in a professional context? I was still figuring out the line between being open about my identity and maintaining professional boundaries. The ambiguity of Marcus's instructions left a lot of room for interpretation. Wednesday morning, Marcus called an impromptu meeting in the common area to align our visions for the photo shoot. We gathered around the mismatched furniture as he paced excitedly, barefoot despite the office policy about shoes. I've been thinking deeply about what makes a truly impactful headshot, Marcus began, his hands moving animatedly as he spoke. We've all seen the standard corporate photos, stiff smiles, boring blazers, soulless expressions. They say nothing about who we really are. They're masks we wear for the business world. Several people nodded in agreement. Marcus was, if nothing else, a compelling speaker. Our clients choose Horizon because we're different. We're authentic. We're willing to be vulnerable and real in a way our competitors aren't, he continued. So I want these headshots to reflect that philosophy. I want them to show the real humans behind the work. So far, this all sounded reasonable enough. Maybe we'd be photographed at our desks or against colorful backgrounds instead of the standard gray. Maybe we could wear casual clothes instead of business attire. I started to relax a little. Then Marcus dropped the bomb. I'm thinking we start with everyone shirtless, maybe in black and white. Raw, authentic, vulnerable. He said this with complete seriousness, as if suggesting we all wear blue ties instead of red ones. It creates this beautiful metaphor about stripping away pretense, don't you think? The room went silent. I felt my face flush hot with embarrassment and confusion. Was this a joke? A test? I looked around at my colleagues, trying to gauge their reactions. Some looked as shocked as I felt. Others seemed to be considering it thoughtfully, as if this were a perfectly normal suggestion in a professional setting. Let me explain why this moment was so jarring. In most workplaces, there's a clear line between personal and professional expression. We all understand that certain boundaries exist for good reasons. Even in creative fields, there are standards of professionalism that help maintain a comfortable environment for everyone. Marcus wasn't just suggesting we blur that line. He was proposing we erase it entirely. I'm not saying the final shots would necessarily be shirtless, Marcus clarified, perhaps sensing the tension in the room. It's more about starting from a place of authenticity and seeing where the creative process takes us. Think about those powerful Dove campaigns or the body positivity movement. They're effective because they're real. Layla raised her hand tentatively. I appreciate the concept, Marcus, but I'm not sure I'd be comfortable with that approach. Could we maybe find another way to express authenticity? Marcus nodded enthusiastically. Of course, of course. This is about consent and comfort. I just want us to push boundaries, to challenge ourselves. What makes us uncomfortable often leads to our best creative work. Ryan jumped in. What about personal objects instead? Things that represent who we are outside of work? Yes, that could work too, Marcus agreed. But I'd still love for at least some of you to consider the original concept. It could be really powerful. The meeting continued with more suggestions and discussion, but I remained quiet, trying to process what was happening. As a gay man in a predominantly straight office, I was acutely aware of how this situation might be perceived differently for me. Would participating seem like I was playing into stereotypes? Would declining make me seem prudish or not a team player? After the meeting, small groups formed to discuss Marcus's proposal. I found myself with Denise from accounting and Tyler from the development team. He can't be serious, Denise said, shaking her head. There have to be HR policies against this. Tyler shrugged. I don't know. I kind of get what he's going for artistically. But yeah, in a workplace it's weird. What do you think? Denise asked me directly. I hesitated. I'm torn. Part of me appreciates the concept of authenticity, but another part feels like this crosses a professional boundary. And honestly, as one of the few openly gay people here, I feel like there's this added layer of, I don't know, expectation. Like if I say no, people might think I'm not comfortable with myself, but if I say yes, it might reinforce stereotypes. Denise nodded understandingly. That's valid. And it shouldn't be on you to navigate that complexity for a work photo shoot of all things. Throughout the day, the office buzzed with conversations about the proposal. Some people seemed genuinely enthusiastic, viewing it as an opportunity for self-expression. Others were clearly uncomfortable but hesitant to push back against Marcus's vision. By afternoon, a compromise seemed to be forming. Those who were comfortable with the concept could participate in more revealing photos, while others could opt for more traditional approaches that still expressed individuality. That evening, I received a text from Marcus. Hey, wanted to check in about the headshot concept. You've always had such a good eye for authentic expression. I think you could really help lead the way on this. No pressure, just think about it. I stared at my phone, unsure how to respond. Was he singling me out because I was gay? Because I was younger? Or was he genuinely seeing something in me that I didn't see in myself? The ambiguity was uncomfortable, and I didn't reply right away. The next morning, I decided to speak with Marcus directly. I found him in the kitchen, making one of his elaborate smoothies. Got a minute to talk about the photo shoot? I asked. Absolutely. He turned off the blender. What's on your mind? I've been thinking about your concept. I started carefully. I understand what you're going for with authenticity and vulnerability, but I'm concerned that asking employees to be physically revealing crosses a professional boundary that exists for good reasons. Marcus listened attentively, nodding along. This was one of his better qualities. For all his eccentricities, he did genuinely listen when people spoke. I appreciate your thoughtfulness, he said when I finished. Maybe I got too excited about the artistic concept without fully considering the workplace context. What would make you comfortable while still capturing your authentic self? His response surprised me. I had expected more resistance. I think we can express authenticity through setting, expression, and personal elements without necessarily making it about our bodies, I suggested. For me, maybe that's being photographed with some of my artwork, or in a setting that reflects my design aesthetic. I love that, Marcus said enthusiastically. Would you be willing to share that perspective at our follow-up meeting this afternoon? I think it could help guide the project in a direction everyone can embrace. At the afternoon meeting, Marcus opened by acknowledging that his initial concept had created some discomfort. He invited me to share my thoughts, and I nervously explained my perspective on finding authenticity through personal expression rather than physical exposure. To my relief, many colleagues nodded in agreement. The final plan for the photo shoot evolved into something much more thoughtful. Each employee would work with the photographer to create a portrait that expressed their individuality in a way they felt comfortable with. Some chose to be photographed with meaningful objects, others in locations around the office that represented their work. A few of the more adventurous team members did opt for more artistic, revealing shots, but this was entirely their choice, not an expectation. When Friday came, the photo shoot felt more like a celebration of our diverse team than the uncomfortable scenario I had feared. The photographer, a friend of Marcus's from his art school days, was professional and collaborative, working with each of us to create images we felt good about. For my portrait, I chose to be photographed at my design station, surrounded by sketches and color palettes, wearing a vintage band t-shirt that represented my passion for music outside of work. The resulting image captured something genuine about me, my creativity, my attention to detail, my personal style, without crossing any boundaries I wasn't comfortable with. When the final headshots were revealed on our new website a few weeks later, they were striking in their diversity and personality. Each portrait told a story about the person behind the job title, creating a mosaic that actually did reflect the creative, human-centered approach our agency took with clients. Marcus was delighted with the results. "This is exactly what I was trying to achieve," he told the team during our reveal meeting. "Each of you found your own authentic expression, and together it creates something much more powerful than if we'd all followed the same formula." Looking back on the experience now, I can see it as a turning point in my professional development. I learned to advocate for appropriate boundaries while still embracing the spirit of creativity and authenticity that made our workplace unique. I gained confidence in expressing my perspective, even when it meant pushing back against authority. And perhaps most importantly, I realized that being my authentic self at work didn't have to mean exposing parts of myself I wasn't comfortable sharing. Authenticity isn't about revealing everything. It's about being genuine in the parts we do choose to share. The shirtless headshots incident became something of a legend at Horizon, often recounted at happy hours with equal parts eye-rolling and affection. Marcus remained Marcus, full of boundary-pushing ideas and unexpected perspectives, but he also demonstrated a willingness to listen and adapt when those ideas missed the mark. As for me, that headshot remained on our company website until I eventually moved on to a new opportunity. It captured a moment in time when I was learning to navigate the complex intersection of personal identity and professional life, fully clothed, but more authentically me than any creative, shirtless photo could have been. In workplaces everywhere, we're constantly negotiating these boundaries, between personal and professional, between authentic expression and appropriate restraint. There's no perfect formula, no one-size-fits-all approach. But in finding my voice during that strange week at Horizon, I discovered something valuable about what authenticity really means in a professional context. It's not about exposing yourself physically. It's about bringing your whole perspective, your unique vision, and your honest voice to the table. Even when that means respectfully disagreeing with your barefoot boss and his well-intentioned but misguided ideas about vulnerability. And sometimes, the most authentic thing you can do is simply say, "No thanks, I'll keep my shirt on for this one." Total_char_count, 17,826.